Yes. All right, no surprise, Mel. Our phone lines are lit up. Let's get right to it. First up, we've got a call from Lori in PEI for Frankie. Good morning, Lori.
Prince Edward Island.
Yeah, how are you?
Morning.
Good morning.
We're good. How are you?
Great.
Okay,
beautiful day.
It's a beautiful day.
Any day is a beautiful day. What's your question today, Lori?
Okay, I was wondering if you have any suggestions on what to do with my peonies, because they're so top heavy, they just topple over.
Oh.
Yeah, so peonies, of course, you can always get a peony ring. And sometimes you can even use a tomato cage. But often there are peony rings that are available at your local garden center and sometimes your home improvement stores. And that's just to support the flowers of those peonies. Peonies, of course, are a beautiful flower. And there are some herbaceous variety, which are tree varieties of peonies that have a little bit stronger stems that won't fall over. So you can either support it with a peony ring or a tomato cage, or what you can do is look for a variety that's going to be a little bit stronger stems. And there's an Itoa peonies, which are quite remarkable. It's just really expensive.
But enjoy them. They are beautiful. Thank you so much for calling, and love to you, Lori, and everybody on the East Coast.
Yeah.
We've got an email with photos from Danielle. She says, I have something going on with my raspberries. I noticed some of the tops of my canes were dying and breaking off. What to do, Frank? The raspberries.
So raspberries right now, and pretty much a lot of things in our vegetable gardens that are suffering from bugs. It doesn't matter where you are. This just is a high bug season. So we want to go out and see if there's any indication of bug damage that's there. I couldn't see the picture specifically, but you're looking for any chewing leaves. Sometimes it's the stem itself. You want to break that stem open, see if there's an insect. Even when you take a flowering plant, we can take it on a white piece of paper. We pull the flower apart. Sometimes we'll see an insect that's there. Often as well, though, with the raspberries could also suffer from heat stress. So right now in the province of Ontario and central Canada, we're going underneath a heat wave. And so you're seeing this heat stress. It's really important to be watering your plants in the morning deeply, making sure that you're soaking them. So what we really want to do is identify whether it's an insect. If it's an insect, then insecticidal soap. If it's heat stress, we just got to do some watering and just try to help us survive during this heat wave.
Okay, great advice. Up next, we've got a caller, Betty from Mount Bridges, talking about some green grass issues. It's not looking so green, right? Good morning. How are you, Betty?
Good morning. Very well, thank you.
Good to hear from you. So what's happening with the grass?
Well, my daughter's got some new seeding put down at her house. It was put down on Monday, and it was nice and green when they first put it down, but by even the end of the day, it had turned a brown, like a brown tinge to it. So I know she's been watering it, but what do you recommend to keep this new sod alive?
Yeah, so first off with sod, you can hear the sounds of the city of Toronto today. This is just a little bit about what's going on in Toronto Police, the fire service right now. Good on them. Give them a little round of applause. Yes. What happens with sod on hot days, like what we've been seeing in central Ontario, is as it's on that skid before it gets laid, it actually cooks on the skid. So before they lay the sod down, it could have already cooked. And now what we have to do is provide it with water and water and water, and it should rebound over time. You can put a sod and seed starter fertilizer down that would actually help it root in, but the key is just water, and the key when new sod is around the edges of the sod. Water those nice and thick first, like really deeply water those first because they'll dry out, and then water the centers. But probably in all likelihood, that sod before it was laid sat on the pile, the skid too long, and cooked on the skid. It's cooked like composted right on the skid.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you so much, Betty. Another similar question from Ram saying, my lawn is looking sad. We have a sprinkler system. It waters every other day at 3 a.m. for 45 minutes. There are a lot of carpenter ants and little holes all over the lawn. Please help.
So during hot weather as well, your lawn naturally will turn brown. The reason why your lawn turns brown is it puts itself into dormancy. The key, you're doing the watering, which is good. The ants shouldn't be causing a problem out there, but ant populations are growing at this time of the year just because of how dry and also because of food sources that are around. But the key is your lawn cutting height. So when you go to cut your lawn now, I want you to raise your mower blades up to about 3 inches. If you're cutting too short and it's a hot weather, then you're actually going to burn that lawn itself. So watering key, and then a fertilizer. So there's a Summer Guard fertilizer that's available right now as well, and that Summer Guard fertilizer has a water smart technology in it that reduces the amount of watering that you have to do and will help out. So with fertilizing, you want to fertilize that is spring, summer, and fall. So if you haven't fertilized, raise the blades, continue to water.
Great advice, Frank. Up next, we've got Vanita from Pickering on the line, and a lot of people were having a hard time getting tomato seeds. You're lucky enough to have a tomato plant, but what's the problem? Good morning, Vanita. How are you?
Good, thanks. My question is about clematis.
Yep.
It has already bloomed. I just wanted to know, do I need to cut it off or keep it on for the next year growth?
Ah.
Okay, so with tomatoes, and this is tomato pruning. So a lot of the times as that tomato plant grows up, some of the bottom leaves, we want to remove some of the bottom leaves. You'll also see in the stem of the tomatoes, you'll start to see another little, almost appears to be another tomato that's growing right out of that stem. That's a sucker. We want to get rid of that sucker right out of there as well. Sometimes we'll remove some of the blooms. If it has a ton of blooms on, selectively remove some of the blooms so we can give more energy just to size up those other tomatoes. But by removing the bottom stems creates airflow. By suckering out, improves airflow around, and then just selectively remove a few blooms. If you don't have a lot of pollinators around, a lot of bees, just shake the plant. That'll actually make pollen in the air, and that'll set the fruit. So in order for these blooms to produce fruit, we need them to pollinate.
Oh, cool.
So you can either take a
shake it.
Q-tip, you can shake the plant, or you can go Q-tip, and you can go from flower to flower to flower with a Q-tip to set the pollen. But often you'll remove a few blooms just to make sure that the plant can support itself. Watering as well, very key, because if you're doing inconsistent watering, that's when you can also get some of the cracking in the bottom. If you're over-watering, you can also crack the tomato by just blowing itself right out.
Oh my gosh, it's such a delicate science, isn't it?
It's fun.
Great tips, though.
Yeah.
Up next, we have got emails from, thank you so much, Vanita, Connie saying, help, something's attacking our Swiss chard. What can we do to prevent this? And thank you in advance. The Swiss chard, Frankie.
So Swiss chard, beet tops are all getting what's called a leaf miner. I could see that there, and it's been quite common, and it's been happening a little bit more and more and more. The neat thing about Swiss chard is it's that vegetable that you can cut and it regrows. Any of those infected leaves, just cut them off. The new growth, as that new growth is coming out, just give it a little spraying with an insecticidal soap, and that new growth insecticidal soap is totally not going to be harmful to you. It's totally going to be organic, totally going to be fine. You can use a home remedy, or bug be gone is another option for you. But that new growth should be free of the leaf miner that's inside, the Swiss chard leaf miner. Happens with beet tops as well.
With beet tops?
Yeah.
Okay. Up next, we have got a call from Patricia, who is in Mississauga. Good morning, Patricia. How are you this Friday morning? Are you there, Patricia?
Morning, Patricia.
Good morning. We just lost Patricia, but I do have her question here, so I'm sure there was just a technical issue.
Yep.
She can still see the answer right now from her TV. Apparently, she has little clovers on her lawn, so how does she get rid of them?
The question is, do you want to get rid of them or do you want to keep them? Often people now are actually mixing white clover and grass seed together because clover is nice and green. Clover actually will put nitrogen into the soil and help the lawn out, but some people don't like the appearance. It's soft to walk on as well. So if you want to get rid of clover, you have two options: hand removal. So you hand remove those patches. And if you want to do a larger section, then you can actually just lay a piece of sod right in that section.
Okay.
That sod will smother over. There is chelated iron that you can use to spray some of the clover. So that's also another product called Weed Be Gone that you can use on that. But hand removal or the Weed Be Gone, or just accepting the clover in the lawn overall.
So, Patricia, is there live now? Were you able to hear all that, or else you could watch it back regarding the, did that help regarding the clover?
Hi, yes, it did. Thank you so much.
Great
Thanks,
to hear
Patricia.
from you. So
Have a wonderful day.
I'm nosy now. Are you going to let the clover do its thing? Or are you going to try?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. So just the best thing is really hand removal, but when we're hand removing at this time, because it's summer, you really, the seed's hard to establish. So remove a larger section and put a larger piece of sod right in that section. We don't want to use small pieces of sod to patch because they'll dry out too quickly and they'll die out just like that.
Okay. All right. Great.
Thank you,
so
Patricia.
Much for love your show.
We
Thank
love
you.
you. Thank you for watching. We've got Cassie from Perth on the line. Good
Yeah.
morning, Cassie. How are you this morning?
Hi, Cassie.
Hello?
Hey.
Hi, Cassie. It's Frank and Dina here. How are you?
Oh, good, good.
So
What's
good
your
to hear
question?
you.
My question is, we have patio plants, tomato plants,
Yep.
but the tomatoes are going black in the middle.
Oh.
So the black in the middle of the tomato, that's just what I was talking about, blossom end rot. So blossom end rot can be either inconsistent watering or a lack of calcium in the soil. So if you can, fertilize, and if you haven't fertilized yet, because they are a patio plant and they're in a container, and by being in a container, every time you're watering out the nutrients because that potting soil doesn't have any food in it. So fertilizing is really important. If you can use a fertilizer that's calcium improved, so you can either use a pelletized chicken manure if you want to do organic, or you can even use a shake and feed. That shake and feed for tomatoes, which has the red top, has calcium in it. And that will really help. Sometimes even if you, at the end of your milk, you know, your milk container, and you got, and right at the end you have a little bit of milk left, just fill that up with water and then water the tomatoes with that. That'll put a little bit of calcium into the soil for you
That's
as well.
a great tip.
Okay. Like, and can you use like Miracle Grow or?
You can use Miracle Grow for sure, but There's a Miracle Grow that's formulated for tomatoes, the one that will have the red on the packaging and or on the top. But we really want to improve the calcium. By being in that tomato pot, tomato plants get big. You may be having to water once or twice per day because they're probably drying out pretty quick on these days because it's just been so sunny and dry.
Yeah, we almost lost them last night with that storm, so.
Yeah.
Well, luckily
Isolated
you can save them, Cassie. You can save the tomatoes.
Yeah.
Thank
and
you.
I love you guys. Watch you all the time.
Yeah,
We
pick all
love
those
you.
bad ones off first, though. Get rid of the bad ones. The next ones will be better.
Thank you so much to everybody who called. Thank you. Enjoy, hon. Enjoy your plants. And speaking of food, it's got us hungry.
Yeah.
Perfect snacks for kids of all ages coming up right after this.
I'm a kid still.
Yeah, what about us?
hungry,
We like
too.
to snack all the time.